Monsignor Gerard Kalumba, or Gerard Majela Kalumba Chitata. I've been a priest for the last 48 years. I was ordained in 1975 in Rubaka Cathedral. So I am really aging, and I'm happy with my age, and I'm not complaining at all. So I came here and crashed the king in 2008 after the present Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Kampala, His Grace Archbishop Paul Semogerere, was appointed Bishop of Kasana Luwera. The then Archbishop of Kampala, the late Archbishop of Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, asked me to come here and take over the parish which was being run by the then Monsignor Paul Semogerere, who had been appointed bishop then. Since 2008, I've been here in Christ the King. I think that's long enough, I believe. So when I arrived in Christ the King, the Archbishop now, present Archbishop, had just finished with the job of putting up a platinum house building on which we have the nursery and the parks. It was just finished, I think. And when I arrived, some of the leaders were saying the Archbishop visited this place and was happy with the developments of Christ the King. The Archbishop, the present Archbishop, had presided over the construction of the community center, on which we have Cardinal Wamara Hall and other committee rooms where people can have their meetings and so forth. And then the Platinum Building. So these were the developments that had taken place, and they were very outstanding. And the Archbishop then, now the late Archbishop Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, appreciated that development. But they told me, I wasn't around, that he made a comment that now the only thing that looks a little bit behind, maybe let's put it that way in simple terms, is the church. Considering the new environment of the other two, considering the environment with the newer buildings, the church looked a little bit old. So that's what I was told, that's the comment he made. So I said, but then, fortunately, there was money to be paid for the construction of the Platinum House, which had been borrowed from Centenary Bank. So we had to pay a good amount of money to the bank. That money had been borrowed. So that was now, the money which had been borrowed, I think, had to be paid in about 5 years. Then I arrived in 2008, and the money, we had 5 years to pay that amount of money, which was above 1 billion shillings. I was asking, how are we going to pay this money? And, they say, the people, especially during Lenten season, they are generous, they can. But then I said, okay, we cannot really say we are going to pay the bank debt just waiting for Lenten season, which happens once in a year. So I had to sit down and look at the flow of money in the parish. When somehow I discovered how money flowed into the parish, I said, okay, let us put some money on that account on which the bank takes off its money to pay the loan. Let us put it at least 3 months ahead of us on that account. While we are still doing that, the contractor who had put up the building also came and said, you still have to pay me a certain amount of money. It was not little, it was, I think, 500 million. We said, how are we going to raise all this money immediately? Can you give us time and we pay little by little? Which we did. He accepted. We paid him as we found the money. And we also put money on the account for the bank loan. Fortunately, in 5 years, we were able to pay the bank loan, and the contractor was also paid within the same period, had been paid also. So I said, okay, now, since they had mentioned that thing concerning the church, I said, in my mind, I said, let us live as if we are still paying a debt. So I said, we keep putting some money on the account for the debt. So that's what we did. We kept putting some money on the account for, we call it saving. We saved the money on that account, but as if we are paying a debt, not just saving, but specifically putting the same amount of money which we were putting when the debt was still there. So that gave us a good target. And we saved and saved. Then in the end I said, can we get some architects to come and advise us on how we can make the church look better? So I think 3 people came out and we looked at their proposals. Eventually, our little committee here decided to go with the proposal of architect Sentogo, and he's the most senior architect in the country, I think first architect. So we went with his proposal. It had been well written, very scientifically written, professionally written. So we went with his proposal, and he went back and developed it. The proposal was to extend the church. And I told him, the place where I see you can extend the church, because the church was small now, people were praying from outside in tents, and it was very difficult to keep these tents clean, and the crowds were kept coming. So I told him, I think you can extend the church towards where the priests' offices and rooms are. Then you can find a way of fixing the priests when you extend the church. He took the idea well, and and he said, this might be cheap also in the construction, just extend this side. And so he went and developed a plan, which he gave to us, and we went to see the Archbishop then, the late Archbishop, Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, and he appreciated the plan. So he went ahead to seek permission from KCCA to construct the church. That was I think 2012, around 2012. When KCC received his plans, they asked for the parking space, which was not being indicated on the plan. Where are people going to park? And that became a big challenge because we don't have enough space for construction of the church and the park. We could not dig down, because first of all, we are just proposing extension. We are not proposing demolition and reconstruction. So we didn't know how to put we didn't know how to get parking space. But also KCC insisted that we needed a park, which is normal. People should have where to park. We tried to indicate that there are parking spaces which are indicated on the roadsides, and so, which is true, because people park on the roadsides. And at that time, they were not constructing it. There is a parking that has been constructed here nearby us, but at that time it was not there. We tried to indicate all that there is parking along the streets, but still they didn't accept that. And they mentioned of 270 cars. Which is impossible. It is impossible. It is impossible. So, but we didn't give up. Meanwhile, we kept saving our money without fearing that they won't allow.
To make the renovation.
Yeah, because it was renovation and extension. Yeah, so we went ahead saving the money, and the architects also went ahead asking them to allow us to renovate the church. I think he presented the plan about 3 times and they rejected it because of parking. Until the last time they wrote a letter saying that could we consider if you get parking about 300 meters away from you. So that gave an opening a bit. So meanwhile, one of our friends was constructing nearby here, and for him, he had parking on the construction. And he agreed that we could make a memorandum of understanding that people can park where the parking is. And that was acceptable to the KCC. So that's how we were given a permission to renovate and extend at a cost at that time of 8.8 billion shillings. That's what was indicated for extension and renovation, about 8.8 billion shillings. So, but because we had been saving over about 4 years from 2012, this was now 2016, so we had saved some little money. So when they said, okay, 8.8 billion, and we looked at what we had saved, we said, maybe we shall go through it. So we accepted to go ahead and start.
That was in 2016?
That was in 2016. We officially gave them part of the building where we were living on the 1st of November 2016. That's when we handed over the part of our residences and offices. And they started demolishing that so that they extend the church.
So what happened by that?
For us, we managed to, nearby there is a building just across the road, across Porterville. There is a little building there, about 4 stories. So we got 2 apartments where we could live, and we went there. It was also a bit expensive, but we didn't have any solution. So we lived there, and meanwhile they started working, but we still used the main church before they worked on it. So they worked for about 7 months, and then they were asking us now, why don't you give us the whole church so that we can work fast? So, because we were anxious to get the church done as soon as possible, they had promised that they would do the whole work in 1 year and 9 months or 8 months. So we said, okay, let us maybe give them the church and finish so that they may finish quickly. So we did leave the church and we started praying from Cardinal Wamala Hall. That's the community center. So it was very inconveniencing because some people would sit in the center in the Cardinal Wamala Hall. Others would remain down here in the garage where we park cars. Tents. It was not very convenient, but people, several were patient with that, hoping that things will be done soon.
They had the hope, because they were seeing the job that was going on everywhere.
But of course, it started delaying a bit, and you could feel that people were not comfortable, definitely. So, but as soon as we gave them the church, they said the architect called me to say that the contractor is saying it is not possible to extend on the existing church, that the foundation of the new structure that is coming does not concur with the old one. That it cannot hold the weight of the new structure. It is not possible. Now, I was confused a little bit. Say, what am I going to do? They have already demolished part of the thing. Am I going to tell them to stop? It's difficult. What am I going to do? So I told the architect, no, what am I to do? Since they have already started, let them go ahead. So they demolished the whole church. There was nothing. There was no. I didn't have a discussion with the committee or anything because they couldn't. What idea would they give in such a situation? Because it was now a matter of either you accept that the church the new thing that is bringing can be connected to the old one or not. The contractor is saying it is not possible. So what do you do? Are you going to send him away and bring another one?
Because you had to take your own decision.
You have to. So I took a decision, and they demolished the church. But then the mistake that was made there was we didn't discuss the new costs for a totally new church. That was a mistake. I don't know who takes responsibility for that. Maybe partly me, but also partly the architect who called me because he should have advised me, I thought.
Before,
Eh,
before any construction would have taken place,
eh,
and then
he
that
should,
advice
eh,
would have come first.
that please, this is what they have said, but let us first discuss with them on the costs. But we didn't have that opportunity, unfortunately. And for them, they were business people, so they went ahead and constructed. Knowing what it means, for them, they knew what it entails. More money. So they constructed, but we are paying all the money as they went ahead constructed. We are paying all the money. You can see the certificates, they are there. We are paying regularly.
Since you had saved
We are paying
part of the money.
part of the money. So we paid. And until 2020, I think, during COVID time there, 2020, 21, I think, they stopped. They had almost finished and they stopped. And we didn't know why they had stopped. For us, the clients did not know why they had stopped. We kept away. What is wrong? COVID, but people are working. Other people are working. We're going on. Why? Until we called the architect, who was the project manager, to ask, what is the problem? Eventually, he came. He was not feeling well, and he's not very well now. He's sick. But he came to try to explain to us. And he was saying, the problem we have been facing, the contractor wants more money because the work changed. And we have been discussing with him about how much and so on. But so they said we have somehow agreed that they raised the money from 8.8 to 18 something billion. From 8.8 to 18. 18 billion. Then that was a shock. We didn't know where to raise the 18 billion. It was a shock. However, we said we leave it in the hands of God. And that's what I've been telling people, that this thing has been done because of God's providence. Maybe that's what God wanted to be done. Because if by luck, good luck or bad luck, at the very beginning, I'd been told they are going to demolish the church, I would not have accepted. Because of the cost. I thought, and because of where to pray, I would think, wait, but if they demolish the church, where are we going to pray from? And so on, so many things. And the money. So that's why I said it's God's providence, that things came the way they came, not very straight. And that's how God's ways, for them, God's ways are straight in crooked lines. So for us human beings, what came was a little bit crooked, but for God it was straight. He wanted a new church.
Not just renovation.
No. So I said, well, what can we do? there was some addendum, contract addendum made, and I said, yeah, I shall pay as per certificates approved. So I pay the money as per certificates approved, not what they want, but the money which has value on the ground. So that's why we went, and then they came back and tried to finish. But all the time they were delayed because they had said they would do it in 1 year, and it's about 8 months, and it took more than almost 6 years, which was a bit too long. So eventually this year, I had to be a little more strict, and I said, we need the church by Easter. Because I had promised the people last year that we would maybe get our church by Christmas of 2022. And it never happened. So I told the contractor, we need the church by Easter this time. And if you can't finish by that time, you will be the one to come and explain to the congregation, to the people, the reasons why you have the challenges you have in the construction. For me, I can't go back to the people and tell them it's not possible.
Because you already told them.
I told them to be possible. And you had also promised that you would finish by that time. Much earlier, you even said much earlier than that. And if you don't finish, you are the one to explain. And for me, I can only assist you by calling the media, because you may not reach these people individually. I will call the media, you come and face.
So by then, what did the contractor say about that?
No, he said we are going to deliver by Easter. We shall give it to you by Easter. So they did their best, and that by Holy Thursday, they handed over on Holy Thursday, and on Good Friday, we went to the church. So it was a very good coincidence, beautiful, theologically fitting in that we're in exile. By the time we were being freed from exile, we were like being freed from Christ, freeing us from exile in sin into his resurrection with a new life. So we also entered on Good Friday, and by Easter Sunday we were in the church. Not everything was in place. The major thing which was not in place were the speakers, and they are, even up to now, they have not fixed them. They have fixed a little thing around, but they have not done them. They have not fixed them yet. They still have to fix the speakers. That's the major. And also, of course, we didn't have pews, but for me, I didn't take that very, very serious. There's something very important. It's good, but doesn't stop us, because we had chairs which you could use and sit in a bigger place and so forth. So that's how we started on Good Friday. Up to now, we are still in the church. We have now decided to tell the people to contribute money to buy pews, and several have started contributing money to the buying of pews, and we have already ordered, and the carpenter has told us that by the time we open this church officially, by the Archbishop will come to open the church and dedicate it officially on the 18th of November. 18th of November. You are most welcome to be part of the...
I think we shall be live by that.
You'll be live by that time, I hope.
It has to be this year.
This year, 18th November this year. That's when he's coming to open and dedicate the church. So, unless something else happens, that's the program. So, we hope by that time the sound system will have been set in, because that's the major thing. And maybe there's just a cross on top of the bell tower which has not been placed. We hope they will have placed it by then. And basically, maybe also the statue of Jesus in front of the church will have been put back. You saw it behind there? Maybe it would have been put back by then. And basically, there are a few little things, like when you're constructing, things are never finished. But most people only see the church and they don't know where their other money went. The other money also went into the construction of the residences and offices, which is also a big kind of construction. Where we are seated now is also new. It's a new office, and the where we live is also new. It starts from the corner there of where the Porto Avenue begins as you come from Parliament. That's where the new construction begins from, up to Colville Street. So what is old? The older part now is the community building and the platinum building. Those are now the older part of the plot. But they will also need a little bit of painting when we settle, when we have paid the debts and so forth. And we have already ordered for the pews. They should be there by the 18th of November. That's our hope. So basically, that's the journey of this church. It has not been a very simple journey, but the Lord has been very, very, very supportive in the journey. It was not parish priest's ingenuity or effort. I didn't put in any effort anywhere. Even the people that I would say put in effort, actually the people who didn't lose hope, who kept giving their little money, and that little money was adding up to big money, which paid the billions we have so far paid. And so I'm very, very grateful to the community of Christ the King Church and all the friends of Christ the King Church. The many people come to pray in this place, and they love praying here. It gives them some quietness in the noise of the town and the city. They can get some little place where they can relax and think of the world, with connecting it with God. And so our new church you have seen it yourselves, and you have taken videos of it and photos, and so it's up to you to tell us whether it is worth the efforts or not. Many people think it's worth the efforts. I don't know, but for me, I am always grateful to God who has allowed it, because as I told you earlier, as a human being, I would not have allowed it. But as God allowed it, and it went ahead.
That was good. That was leading you to.
Basically, the money that has built the church has come in its small bits from the community of Christ the King. Basically, we have had 2 fundraising functions up to today. The first fundraising function took place in October 2016, which was graced by the late Archbishop and also graced by His Eminence Cardinal Wamala, who were present. That was the beginning of trying to see whether we could raise some good money for the construction at that. But at that time, I informed the people about how much money we had, because we had been saving. Because of that, maybe psychologically, it's not easy always to know how to deal with the communities. When I mentioned that we had some money, maybe so people thought that it is easy to get money for us here. But I just wanted to be open to them, to tell them how much we had and how much we needed. So the first fundraising was in October 2016. I don't remember the exact date. But we didn't make much money compared to the billions that we needed. We needed 8 billion by then. That's what we had at that time, 88. And so when we were calling people to assist, we told them the money required is about 8.8 billion. But at that time, we had at least 6-point-something billion. So we thought we could easily raise the 2 billion something. But on that occasion, I think we might have raised maybe 300 million. So you can see that, because I'm trying to answer your question, whether I am answering it from a different perspective. I don't want to mention people and names and of companies, but we raised about 300 million. And since that time, we didn't have any other fundraising until 2022 August, July, when we held a second fundraising. At that time, with the shock after the money had been raised from 8.8 to 18, which had been mentioned to us. So we had another fundraising in 2022 at Protea Hotel, which was graced by the new Archbishop of Kampala, His Grace Paul Semwagere. And on that occasion, I think we also raised about the same amount, I think, about 300 million. But we still needed quite billions. So this is to confirm to you that the bigger part of the money that has come into the construction of the church has been the money that came from the people, the community. But definitely, I don't want to mention individuals or companies, but there are several companies and individuals that have contributed in a big way. But the real base of the funds is the community. Really, I thank them. I thank them heartily, and I pray that the Lord blesses them. Blesses them as they come to pray in their church, hoping that when they come in, they feel raised in their spiritual journey, with the ambience, with the environment, hoping that when they are in the church, the outside is not so much disturbing anymore. They don't have to pray from outside the church. We shall not put tents anymore. The church can, with the pews, people may be a bit less, but without pews, this church can take to almost 2,000 people. But with the pews, the estimate can go up to 1,300 people, but maybe a little more. Sometimes it depends. People sit all over the places, in the walkways and so on. And the pews, of course, also take space. These single chairs don't take much space. For them, they don't take. So more people can come in on the single chairs, but the pews with themselves would take space where people would be. So they lessen the number of people that will be in. So we pray that when they come, people come to pray in their church, and the men have expressed joy to be in the church, a new church. Even some were skeptical when the church was demolished. I've appreciated that maybe it was worth it. It was worth it. So I thank them really from the bottom of my heart. They are the ones who have made me survive. Otherwise, I would have collapsed. I told you that if I had been told that we are going to demolish and construct a new church, the new church will not exist by now. That is my feeling. But I am appreciating God who works straight in our crooked ways.